Let's see how we can use Power BI parameters to create dynamic reports in Power BI. This is part of a series on Power BI parameters. You can access the complete series by clicking in the corner or in the description below. Now in the part 1 we had covered Power BI query parameters. Now in this part we're going to focus on the Power BI report parameters. So I want to show you step by step how you can use them in Power BI to create dynamic reports, but in the end we'll also compare the two approaches and decide which one is the best for you. I would also like to hear from you as to how you are using or plan to use Power BI parameters. So leave a comment and let me know. My name is Avi Singh. I'm a Microsoft MVP and a best-selling Power BI author. And if you would like to become a Power BI Pro, make sure to click subscribe and hit that bell so you are notified whenever I go live to answer your Power BI questions. So we had covered query parameters in part 1 of the video, but I'm going to give you a really quick recap. Query parameters are set in the query editor, but once set, they can be changed just from edit queries, edit parameters window here. And in this example, how we had used was we had used this to select the data that is loaded into my report. So by selecting United States, I'm only loading the data for United States. Now let's switch over and look at report parameters. Report parameters can be used the way you saw query parameters being used, primarily to filter the report data set, but it also has additional uses for what if or a selection of a scenario, and I'll show you all of those. So let's look at the first one. Here we have, similar to how the query parameters were selecting the country, the data that was shown, you can bring all the data in and simply show it as a slicer on here, and the users themselves can select which country data they want to filter what they're looking at. Now of course you can also add this as a page level or report level filter instead of adding it as a slicer here. Now if you do not want to expose all your data in this way, if there's some security or sensitivity around it, then you can use row level security so that users from United States would only see data from United States automatically. Now we'll cover that possibly in a future video. For now, let's stay with the parameters, report parameters. So this is one use, but let me show you another use of report parameters, which is the what if or scenario selection. Now what I'm going to take you is our finance dashboard. Now this is one which we have built step by step in a very detailed hour-long webinar that I did with Microsoft, and we're going to link that in up in the corner or down in the description as well, and you can watch that in detail. But this was the end result of that, and I want to share that with you. So here you notice here that this is our parameters. So this is the dial that the user can select, and it's going to dynamically change the report. And here they select the scenario for which they want to see more detail. So right now I'm going to orient you here. So notice this number 11504, it matches over here. So what this dial is doing is it's connecting this one with the parameters selected. So when you select year to date, it shows you the detail for the year to date numbers. But when you change that parameter, when the user selects quarter to date, notice that now this number matches this and it's showing you the quarter to date details. And of course when you select current, it gives you the details for the current month. So you can see how a parameter can dynamically change what's being shown on the report. There are many uses along this line, so don't get stuck with the specific of that. Just get the idea that you can have a dial, a parameter on your report which can dynamically pretty much change anything that is being displayed on your report. For this video we're gonna develop a simpler version of that. So this is a projection scenario, and here our dial is the growth rate. So here we have traveled back in time and we are at the beginning of the year 2017, and we have our prior year data, which is 2016, available to us, and then we are using that to project the future, the 2017's numbers that are going to be. And our dial, the parameter, is the growth rate. So right now it's at 0%, and we're just saying yep, 0% is going to stay flat. But then user can change this dial and say, what happens if we grow by 2%? What happens if we grow by 5% or 10%? And you can see 10% is easy to validate. Our actual prior year was 16 million, so with 10% growth we'll grow by 1.6 million, and you can see that's been added to that there. So that all small dial is there available to you. But the best part, and this is what I love about Power BI, is that once you build something like this, you can slice and dice it any which way you want. So if I want now to see this projection only for United States or only for Germany, it's just a click away. Or I can go just to United States and say, hey, show me only for the accessories business. And the same logic, you don't have to touch anything. It's still going to be applied on the display on the report. So let's go ahead and build this out step by step, so just so you can follow along and get every little step that's involved here. And by the way, you can download this file and any other file you see on my videos here by going to www.learnpowerbi.com/download, and that includes the finance dashboard that I had shown to you earlier. So go ahead and grab that file so you can follow along in this video if you like, or you can practice it later on. So here I have again the year. I have a slicer and it is selected 2017, and I've already defined a measure. So 2017 is the year we want to calculate the projection for. 2016 is the year that's just completed, and to get the last year's number, I've already defined one formula using the amazing time intelligence available in Power BI. So this is actual prior year, and you can see it's a very simple format. Calculate actual, and then it uses one of the time intelligence functions to give me the value for last year, so same period last year. So I have that one available here. Let's add a projected number, shall we? So what we're going to do is we have actuals over here. I'm going to add a new measure, and let's go over here and we'll say projected. And I know I'm going to create the projection based on the actual prior year. So let's just say prior year, and for now let's just say multiplied by 1. I mean, we don't have the growth rate dial quite there yet, but so we're going to leave a placeholder for that here. I'm going to change the format for that, and let's just add it here. And right now it's not going to do anything, it's just showing us the same number. So the first thing we need to do is to build that dial, and to build that dial I need to provide those numbers to Power BI. So for that I'm going to go back to home and enter data. Now you can connect this to a separate file, but this one, for a simple scenario, I'm just going to copy paste this in from an Excel list that I have here. So I hit enter data earlier, and now I can just hit in here and I can say Control V, and I just paste that here, and I'm just going to rename the table and hit load. So what this is going to do is this is going to make that dial, the parameter, available to us. It's not going to be functional to begin with, but that's keep watching till the end to see how it's hooked up all. So my growth rate is right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that here, change that to a slicer. I'm going to change that to a list slicer. I should format that as a percentage as well. So I'm going to change the formatting to percentage. Let's see how this works. Perfect. So now it's a percentage, and I do not want any decimal places. And what I'm going to do is change this to a horizontal slicer. That's the look that I'm going for this video, and I'm also going to add some framing around these items. So I'll go to items and I'll say for outline, frame those. Okay, that's good enough. And so now we have the dial available. So let's see how it works, shall we? Well, 0%, that's understandable, but 5%, 10%, you notice that nothing really changes. And I'm also going to add the big projected number here, but it's not really changing anything because it's not hooked up yet. So remember, when we had defined the projected measure, we had just left kind of a placeholder there, and this is where we're going to substitute our selected value for the growth rate. So for that, I love doing things step by step. So we're going to do a mini measure just to grab what is the growth rate that has been selected in that dial. So I'm just going to go to that and say give me a selected growth rate, and I'll just say selected value growth rate, and that's it. And I'm going to change that to a percentage, no decimal places, and I'll just put it here just to see if it's working. I expect it to. and perfect. So 10%. So you notice that if I change this, then at least this measure is changing. Now this measure is still not changing, but that's the one we're gonna fix next. So I'll remove the selected growth rate from the display over here. I'll go back to projected, and instead of 1, I'll say, hey, if it's selected as 10% growth, I'll say 1 plus the selected growth rate, and let's see how it does now. Perfect. And again, we can see kind of a 10% growth rate and a minus 2%, so it's changing. Let's add year over year projected growth change as well. So year over year projected growth in like actual dollars, and we'll just say projected minus actual. That's it. Let's bring it back to 10%, and here I'm going to add the year over year projected in this as well, and I'm going to add this in my detail as well. And I just realized that I do need to format it again. Oops, I made a mistake there. So instead of projected minus actual, it should have been prior year difference. So let's do that, and now it's working right. So you can see at 10% growth, which I had selected over there, we're growing by about 1.6 million. So that 16.4 is so that seems about right. So the last thing I added in this report is cumulative, so year-to-date totals, just to get like a visual indication. Like if you're growing at 20%, you can see if you're flat at 0%, then of course the two lines superimpose. But you can see how from minus 20% to 20%, and you can see kind of month by month how much. It's just pretty much the same information, but in cumulative format, and you can see at the year end, prior to date was 16.4 million, but projected a year with 20% growth is 19.7. You can grab this file and my other downloads at learnpowerbi.com/download, and we're also going to put that link in the description below. Now let's go back and compare the query versus the report parameters. So if you have watched both parts of this series, then you have seen the query parameters in play and you've seen the report parameters in play. Now query parameters, the primary use of this is to filter the incoming data set. Now you can theoretically use this for what if or scenario selection, but it's extremely rare, and I've never really seen it being used that way, although it is possible. Report parameters can be used for filtering as well as what if or scenario selection, and they are extremely flexible when it comes to that. Another limitation around query parameters is that they can only be changed when you're in the Power BI desktop, which is really the authoring tool. Once a report is published onto the service, PowerBI.com or Power BI report server on premise, the users currently are not able to change the query parameters. Whereas the report parameters are always visible in Power BI desktop or PowerBI.com and can be freely changed by any end user. Because of those reasons, right now my heavy favorite are the report parameters, but I would love to hear from you how you are using parameters and which one is your favorite or how you plan to use them. So leave a comment and let me know. Make sure to watch the complete Power BI query parameters series by following the links in the corner or down below. Now we have covered query parameters and report parameters, but more videos on this are coming soon. Possibly we'll cover topics around row level security, using external parameters, and more. If you have a specific topic in mind, please leave a comment and let me know what would you like me to cover. If you're new to Power BI, make sure to check my step-by-step Power BI tutorial, and remember to subscribe and join me live on my Friday Talk Power BI show. Power on, my friend. Hey, keep watching more videos and keep learning Power BI. But if you did enjoy this video, I would love to hear from you. So leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Power on, my friends.